Start laying down and just have your strap close by. As you're laying down, just check and see how your lower back is feeling. So if there's any tenderness there, you're gonna go ahead and either put something underneath your knees or just keep your knees bent, take feet wide, and then allow your knees to knock in towards each other. And then take a nice deep inhale here. Open your mouth, sigh the breath out, let it go, ha. Do that a couple more times. So with each exhale, you're letting the week so far kind of just drift away. You're starting to land on your mat. You're starting to land inside your body. You're going to start to pay attention to how things are feeling. You're going to start to deepen the breath. Good. So start to find that inhale through your nose and that exhale through your nose, creating that soft rush of air in the back of your throat. So dipping into that Ujjayi breath. And right from the start, try to keep the length of the inhale and the length of the exhale really nice and even. One might feel a little easier than the other starting out. So just move towards that symmetry. And then maybe notice if you've started to grip anywhere, perhaps the toes are clenching a little bit on the mat, or you're tensing the inner thigh, the groin area. Send a little breath there, soften what's going on in the shoulders. Really feel that spread across your heart and chest as shoulders root down. Feeling the length through the back of your neck. There's this subtle sensation of chin tucking. You don't need to overdo that. You could even think of that as on the inhale, your chest expanding towards your chin. And then just a couple moments here, soaking up the quiet. When you get distracted by sounds happening in the room you're in, outside the room you're in, by the thoughts kicking around in your head, just remind yourself to come back to your breath. You might have to do that often, that's okay. Just move towards really giving yourself permission to soak up this quiet space, to go inside, to check in. Just notice how you're doing. Good, so if your legs are extended straight, start to bend the knees. If your feet are wide, just heel toe them together. So you're coming into a bridge pose shape, knees over your ankles. Give the right knee a squeeze into your chest. You can either hold the thigh or the shin. And then just find a little movement. You can open up side to side, maybe start to make some circles in that hip socket. Can do small circles, big circles. This can get some strange clicks first thing in the morning. So just kind of noticing and doing a little less if you need to. Good, and then go ahead and find your strap. You're gonna unfurl it, take it over the sole of that right foot, and then you're gonna bring this right leg to straight. For some of us, it's not gonna go entirely there. A little micro bend in the knee is nice if you're a little more flexible. If you're just really tight, big bend in the knee might be happening. And then you're gonna come down as far as you need to on your strap. So one strap in each hand so that your shoulder blades can be pressing into the mat. As you exhale, breathe a little space into this right hip crease. You can even take your thumb there and gently press forward. So kind of find that sensation and then try to hold on to that. And this can certainly be really, really intense. So definitely a stretch in the back of the leg. You might be feeling this lower back lumbar area. Keep that breath moving. Visualize the exhale going to the spots that are particularly tight. Good. So you might just stay here like this, especially if you're getting plenty of sensation. If you feel like you would like to intensify things a little bit, start to extend your left leg to straight on the mat. As you do that, you're going to press into the center of that heel. Those toes are going to point up towards the ceiling. So essentially both legs are in Tadasana mountain pose, even though they're facing different directions. So they're both really active. It's as though you're standing on them. So muscles are engaged. Muscle is firming towards bone. If you come to that extended leg version and it starts to feel too intense, you just back out. It means it's not working for you today. And then again, a couple of breaths here. And check in with those shoulder blades. Make sure that they're pressing down into the mat underneath you. And then whichever configuration you are on with your legs here, let's take both straps into our right hand. Take your left hand, just place it on your left thigh, whether that leg is extended straight or bent. If the leg is straight, just think applying a little pressure to keep that left hip plate underneath you pressing down. Deep inhale here. And then as you exhale, keep the back side of your body pressing. Start to open up that right leg off to the right. And you might not have to go very far at all. So you're going to start to feel a stretch on the inseam of the leg, the groin. And again, you could actually be feeling this hamstring, glute, calf behind the knee. You want the back of your body pressing evenly. So if you lose that, that means you've gone too far. And then here too, can you keep sending your breath to that right hip crease? So it's drawing down and forward. Finding a little space there. Good, we inhale up to center. Good, both straps into your left hand. And again, this left leg can be straight or knee bent. Bring your right arm out in a T shape. This time we want to keep that right shoulder blade pressing down into the mat. As we exhale, we find our twist. So you just roll to the outer edge of that left foot, extending right leg out and over. And this is really great pose. So it's a nice deep twist. We've got this asymmetry in the body. So this is great for sciatica. If you kind of get some SI joint tenderness sometimes, tightness in the lumbar, this is a good little stretch to be doing several times a week. This whole series is really great for the spine and all of these big connection points, legs, muscles, all of that connects to the trunk. You might be looking straight up here. You might be gazing out over those right fingers and just seeing what you need. Check in with your breath again. Have you lost that thread? Come back to it if you have. On an inhale, we come back to center. Back side of the body pressing, you're nice and even. We're going to bring our right big toe back towards our left shoulder head. So not really doing a twist, kind of just going diagonal slightly. Back side of the body is pressing evenly. Intense stretch. Hamstring behind the knee. You're going to start to feel this in the glute. This is one of those ones where it's like you don't move very far at all, but it really packs a punch. So keep breathing. Notice if you've started to clench your face, your jaw, soften there. Good, come back to center and then just remove the strap. Give your knees a little squeeze here. And right away, just notice how you feel different on this right side. It might feel like you're slightly more open. You might feel like you're an inch or two taller. So let's even it out. Place that right foot on the mat And then just find some movement with this left leg, with that knee bent. You can make circles, go side to side. So just exploring, noticing how this side feels in your body. Is it quite a bit different? Is it about the same? It's not unusual for there to be a discernible difference side to side in our legs. All right, and then the same thing here. Find your strap. Take it over the sole of the foot. So your strap is below the bridge of the foot, slightly above the arch. It's kind of in that upper third quadrant of the foot towards the toes. You take one strap in each hand. You can still have a little bend in your knee here. Micro bend is great if you're one of those people who has really mobile joints. That's going to just give you a little protection there. And of course, a big bend if you're just a tight person, which is also okay and true of many of us. You can also come down way far in your strap. So you do want to have the backside of your body pressing, especially those shoulder blades. And then just, again, visualize that exhale, helping you to extend the left side of your waist forward. You can take your left thumb there for a breath or two if that's helpful in your body to feel that. And then finally, if you did want to extend your right leg to straight on the mat here, you're welcome to do so. So as I did that, I felt a lot more stretch in the glute, kind of outer hamstring area. Keep that right leg really active. It's as though you're standing on it. It's heavy. It's anchoring your body down into the mat. And then we find our twist here. See, not our twist actually. So the extension off to the left side. So both straps come into your left hand. Take your right hand on that right thigh. And then as you exhale, start to extend. So if I start to pop up here, it means I've gone too far. So you just back out a little bit. You want to feel really heavy in both of these hip plates underneath you. You want your shoulders to stay heavy. And we're here for several breaths, so you have time to ease in. You don't have to go for it right at the start. This side might be a lot different. So always modify, always adjust as you need to. Listening to your sound of the sound of your breath, just coming back to that. All right, we're going to inhale up to center. Take both straps into your right hand, left arm out in a T shape. So this time I want to keep really heavy in that shoulder blade. And then you are going to roll to the outer edge of that right foot. Hips might start to stack on top of each other. They might not. You might not get very far at all. The important thing is that you go to the place where you're getting the stretch in your body. Day to day, that shifts. So we can kind of get attached to the idea that the poses need to look a certain way. They're always changing a little bit. You might be gazing straight up here. You might be looking out over your left fingertips. That's going to stretch into the right side of the neck a little bit, which can feel either really good. Some days it doesn't. If that's you today, you skip it. Good. As you inhale, come up to center. So feeling the back side of your body pressing evenly. Again, that tiny movement, left big toe towards your right shoulder head. Keep breathing. It's intense. Notice if you've started to clench your jaw a little bit here, soften. Maybe try to smile. You don't have to. This is not necessarily the funnest thing in the world. Good, come back to center. Release the strap from your foot and then give both knees a squeeze into your chest. Hopefully you're feeling a little more even on both sides. Just rock a little bit from side to side here. And then you're going to decide if it feels like rolling forward and back on your spine is something that's in the cards today. You can do that. Some days it doesn't feel good, in which case you roll off to one side or the other. We're all going to just make our way up to our tabletop position. I'm starting to warm up the spine a little bit here. So setting up for our cat-cow, land with your shoulders over your wrists, fingers spreading, pressing evenly. Knees are underneath your hips. All right. So you can root down into your shins as you inhale, arch in your lumbar. Chest comes forward through the gates of your shoulders. A little bit of that cobra pose feeling, shoulder heads press back, shoulder blades squeeze in. As you exhale, press the mat away, round in, let the back of your neck really lengthen. And then just continuing like this. Moving with your breath, so finding a pace that feels really good to you today. You're not too fast, you're not too slow, you're just right. And then you're really paying attention to your spine here. You're getting curious. How do things feel? And as we're here for a minute or so, how do things start to shift and open up? It's pretty incredible. Just a little bit of movement goes a long way. The hardest part is always just showing up and doing it, taking those first couple steps. A few more good rounds here. Good. So on your next inhale, come back to neutral spine. You're neither arching nor rounding. Let's find a little more extension in the spine. So as you inhale at the same time, right leg, left arm. So also a little balance pose here. See how long you can get. Exhale, release down. Inhale, left leg, right arm. Reach, reach, reach out. Keep that left hip spinning down so we don't want to open up. Inhale, right leg, left arm. Gaze just slightly forward. Good. Inhale, left leg, right arm. Exhale, down. Let's do 3 more to each side. Moving nice and slow. There's no rush. Coordinating the movement with your breath, feeling your core, your belly engage. And each time you land here in this bird dog, can you get a little longer? Toes are pointing down. It's like you're standing on that foot of the leg that's lifted. And when you finished up with left leg, right arm, go ahead and release down. And let's get into a little shoulder stretch here. So you might need your block for this. So from this tabletop position, we're going to thread the eye of the needle. So we're going to root down into our right palm. We're going to take our left arm underneath. So you might need to stack something up underneath your shoulder and head. Kind of just depends on how things are feeling. So use any proppage that you need. And then let's stretch our right fingertips forward. So firm that arm up. It's just like you're in downward facing dog. You might get a nice little stretch on that outer right shoulder. And then see if you can start to spin your left ribs to the right a little bit. Perhaps you stay here like this if you're feeling a nice stretch. Otherwise, start to extend right arm off to the right. So it's kind of gonna just land on top of that left arm slightly forward. Good, just take a breath or two here. See if you can start to roll the inner arm towards the outer arm. Maybe that happens so much that you start to float your right arm up. And then move in the opposite direction. So find internal rotation, outer arm towards inner arm, palm spins behind you. Maybe bend the elbow, grab a piece of shirt, the lower left side. You might be able to get your fingertips to the inside of this left thigh. You're just looking for a little leverage to open up the shoulder and wrap the left ribs to the right. Are you breathing? And then of course, you're gonna be feeling a stretch, potentially a really big one in that left shoulder and in your neck. So you got some pressure there. So again, proppage is nice if you're really tight. But if you're in your wrap, go ahead and extend your right arm up. Take a deep inhale. And then as we exhale, we unwind. Let's just cleanse the palate here. So take a couple rounds of your cat-cow, just let that side go before we come into the second side. Good, inhale back to neutral spine. Root into your left palm. Thread this right arm underneath. So landing on the shoulder and the ear. Again, maybe you need some props. This side might feel a lot different, so always modify if need be. And then pretend that you're coming into a one-armed downward facing dog. So extend your left hand forward, spread the fingers, press evenly, firm up that arm. So feel that inner arm wrap towards the outer arm. You're trying to broaden across the shoulders. As you're doing that, though, you're spinning the right ribs gently towards the left. It might be the tiniest amount. Nice little stretch in the armpit area. This might be where you want to stay. If you would like to, start to bring that left arm off to the left. So just take a couple breaths here. It's landing over that right arm. Maybe you stay here. Maybe you start to reach left fingertips up. And then bring your palm to face behind you. So rotating around and then bending the elbow. Grabbing a piece of shirt on the right side, just finding a little leverage to press that left shoulder head back. Maybe you can get your fingertips to the inside of that right thigh. Keep the breath smooth and steady if you've lost that at all. So this seems like, you know, no big deal, but this is actually pretty challenging little stretch for a lot of us. Send the breath to the spots where you're feeling this, and always back out a little bit if you need to. Good. If you're in the wrap, go ahead and unwind. So reach those left fingertips up. Deep inhale. Exhale, come to your tabletop. Couple of rounds of cat-cow here. Inhaling, arching. Exhaling, rounding in. Good, just continuing like that. Few breaths. All right, so from here, from your tabletop, go ahead and walk your hands forward a couple of inches. Kind of make sure that your strap is close by. So, and then shift your shoulders slightly over your wrist. Keep the belly lifted as we exhale, elbows bend an inch, 2. Hover at halfway, keep the shoulder heads lifted, keep your gaze forward, and then land in one piece on your belly. All right, so pressing into the tops of your feet, reaching back nice and long through all 10 toes. You're gonna grab your strap here. And you're just gonna kind of come as wide as you need to so that you can start to feel those shoulder heads lift, and then you can pull out at the same time. So kind of, you can adjust as we come up too, but go ahead and land on your forehead. Feel the feet pressing, feel the legs really active. So you're firing them up a little bit. Feel the outer hips squeeze in towards each other, the glutes fire. And then start to lift the shoulder heads up off the mat. You can keep your forehead down here. With all of that weight in your lower body as you inhale, head and chest extend forward and up. And then on this strap, start to pull out. And again, you're gonna feel a little stretch in the front of the shoulders. Notice if your legs, your feet are getting a little light, keep lifting there. And then maybe you start to lift your arms up a little more, and that's gonna kind of give you a stretch on the inseam of the arm. And that definitely has to do with how bulky the shoulders are, the muscles there, how flexible you are on the shoulders. So you might not be lifting very high at all. That's absolutely fine. When we're deep inhale, see if you can lift a little more. And then exhale, release down. You can move your strap off to one side. We stretch arms forward like Superman. And then again, just that nice asymmetrical opposite arm, opposite leg, finding lots of length and strengthening these muscles in the back. So as you inhale, right leg, left arm, head and chest, gaze slightly forward. Exhale, lower. Inhale, left leg, right arm, head and chest, exhale, lower. Continue like this, about 4, to each side. So just some gentle flow here, creating space and strength in the back. We often tend to think of core strength as having to do with all of those muscles in the front of the body, the abs, so we kind of overemphasize that. So this is the other 50% of that equation. Just as important that these muscles are strong. They're going to help us stabilize, balance, and they keep the spine really healthy. All right, so let's say one more to each side here. So you're going to end on that left leg, right arm reaching. And when you get back to that right leg, left arm reaching, just hold there. Let's take a few breaths. Plug that left arm into the socket there. So feel those shoulder blades squeeze down and in. And then release that side down on the exhale. Inhale, right arm, left leg. Good, and then just kind of release that arm into the shoulder socket there. Exhale, release down. This time, we inhale, lift everything up off the mat. You might not lift as high as when you're just doing one side. That's all right. Try to lift evenly though. So the legs might feel easier in your body. The chest might feel a little easier in your body. Just notice. Try to find that sense of symmetry. And then place your feet down. Bring your fingertips underneath your shoulder heads. Elbow squeeze in. Exhale, roll down a couple times like this. Inhale, lengthen forward and up. Good, exhale, lower. Inhaling up. Exhale, lower down. And then inhale up here. As you exhale, press to your tabletop, curl your toes under. Find your first downward facing dog. And then just take a moment here, fidget around, pedal back and forth between your feet, shift hips side to side, whatever it is that feels good in your body. If you're in that place where it just feels nice to find stillness, you're welcome to do that. But just a few more breaths here, doing whatever you need. And then eventually coming to a place of stillness. So landing with your feet hips distance apart, you're gazing between your toes so your ears are in line with your biceps. Peek forward between your hands, just make sure that they're about shoulders distance apart. If you're tighter in your shoulders, you can spin your hands out a little bit. Fingers spreading, pressing evenly. Stretching sit bones up towards the ceiling. You might need to find a pretty nice bend in your knees to be able to do that. And that's absolutely fine. And then nice and easy, we're going to start to walk our hands back to meet our feet here. Just take a nice little forward fold, deep bend in the knees. So this first forward fold of the day is always really intense, even though we've stretched out the backs of the legs a little bit. Grab the opposite elbows and then just start to sway from side to side. And then change the cross of the arms, nod head, yes. And then nod your head, no. You could release your fingertips down to the mat with a little bend in the knees. Slowly start to roll on up, one vertebra at a time. When you get all the way up, just roll the shoulders back a few times. Might get some crunches and some clicks. Roll forward. Good, and then roll back again. And let's find a few half sun salutations here. So arms by your side, palms facing forward, this stretch across your heart and chest. As you inhale, arms reach out and up. Feel the weight evenly distributed in your feet. As you exhale, you hinge forward, fold in, maybe with a little bend in your knees. Inhaling, chest extends forward, so hands on thighs or shins. Exhale, fold back in. Pressing into your feet, take up space. You can reach out or forward, whatever feels best to you. They both just feel a little different as you exhale, hands come together at your heart. 2 more on your own, moving with your breath, maybe closing your eyes here. Get curious about each of these very distinct poses that are being threaded together with the breath. So find this sense of flow, this sense of rhythm, this moving meditation. Good, and then when you're done, you're just standing at the back of your mat. If you don't have your blocks at the top of the mat, just go ahead and move them there. And then we'll reach back, or we'll meet at the back of the mat again. And here we go. Inhale, arms reach out and up. As you exhale, hinge forward, fold in. Inhale, chest extends forward, gaze comes forward, nice and slow. Start to walk back into your downward facing dog. From here, you're gonna inhale, lift your right leg up. As you exhale, step that foot through, land on your left knee. You might need to pat it up if it's a little tender. You can always double up your mat. And then this is where having some blocks might be nice. So we're just gonna flow a little bit here and then we're gonna come into these holds. So you're releasing this left hip down. If you're more open, you slide that left knee back. Let's exhale in here, any amount. You might be pretty upright. As you inhale, you start to straighten this right leg, pull back so you get into the hamstring. Exhale, rock in. Good, inhale back. This is super intense. Big muscles that we're getting into. So we're just kind of warming it up with a little flow here. Let's do a couple more like this. Good, the next time you're forward, you're gonna hang out here. So maybe you need to bring the blocks a little higher. Maybe you're ready to lose them. Maybe you're sliding your left knee back a little further. Big, big hip flexor stretch. You might feel this a little bit in the quadricep. Make sure you're not rolling to the outer edge of that right foot. So you're kind of squeezing that right knee, right leg into the midline. And you're breathing. Have you lost the breath? Are you clenching your face, your jaw? Soften there. Breath smooth and steady. That inhale through your nose, that exhale through your nose. Good, and then let's rock back. And then perhaps you bring your blocks with you. If you're really tight in the hamstring, you're gonna be pretty upright. Your fingers might even not be resting on anything, or you could have a hand on a wall to help you balance. If you're a little more flexible here, really pull your right hip back, left hip forward. Maybe you take a little forward fold. Don't do that by rounding in. Keep this cobra pose feeling in your upper body. And then you can also really start to flex these toes up towards the ceiling. That's gonna get into that hamstring a little more. Breathing. Definitely some intense stretches here. All right, so we're gonna rock forward. You're gonna curl your left toes under. All right, and then you're gonna heel toe your right foot to the left twice. Spin into the back edge of that left foot so you are heel to arch. Let's switch sides here, and then we're gonna windmill arms up and over. So we find our Veerabhadrasana too. So we were just neutral, getting into the hamstrings, the quadricep. Now we're getting into the hips a little more as we come into our Veerabhadrasana too. So just flowing this as you inhale, press to the inner edge of the right foot. Start to straighten that leg. Exhale, sink in. Good, inhale up. Exhale, sink in. Good, one more, inhale. It's like the outer edges of the feet are squeezing into the midline. Exhale, sink in. Hold here. So imagine that there's a wall behind you, that right leg that you're pressing that knee into. Notice if the shoulders have crept up around your ears, soften them down. Bring your gaze out over your right fingertips. Feel this left hip release downward, but really seal into the back edge of that foot. So we can tend to forget about the back leg because there's so much sensation happening in this front leg. Fire up that back leg. Pull your belly in, feel your tailbone release down. Spin your right palm to face up towards the ceiling. As you inhale, reverse your warriors to getting this nice lateral stretch to the right side. Nice and light on that back leg. Spin those left ribs up. Maybe you're gazing up underneath your top arm. Good, inhale into your Veerabhadrasana 2. As you exhale, you're gonna windmill your arms up and over. So palms press here, keep your hips this low. Step to your plank pose, take an inhale. And then lower to your knees. Exhale, elbows bend to halfway. Hover and then land on your belly. Inhale, low cobra. Press to your tabletop. Good, downward facing dog. Start to walk your hands back to meet your feet. Inhale, chest extends. Exhale, fold. Pressing into your feet, stretching arms out and up. As you exhale, hands come together at your heart. Inhaling, reaching. As you exhale, hinge forward, fold in. Inhale, chest extends forward, gaze comes forward nice and slow. Walk out into your downward facing dog. Keep those heels pressing back as long as you can. They're gonna lift up at some point. Then release the ears between your arms. Take a nice deep inhale, lift the left leg, keep hips even. And then exhale, step that foot through between your hands, land on your right knee. Again, you might have your blocks here. So set up, we're gonna flow this a little bit. Again, pat up that back knee if you need to. The more open you are, the further you slide that knee back. So we exhale, melt forward. Inhale, we pull back. You might not pull back very far. You keep a healthy bend in that left knee, and then just flowing with your breath. So we're kind of just trying to ease our way into this rather than coming into that hold right at the start. We're just kind of trying to give the muscles a little room, a little space. And also just enjoying this flow sensation, connecting movement with breath. All right, so the next time you're rocking forward, you're gonna hold here, adjust your blocks if you need to. Again, if you are really upright because you're that tight on this hip flexor, you're doing it right. You can balance with your arm against a wall if you need to. You can just have your arms resting by your side. Big stretch here, it's intense. If you need a little more, you come a little lower. Hands, fingertips on the floor, slide that right knee back. Check in with your breath. Has it gotten ragged? Are you holding the breath? Keep it moving. Good, and then we start to slide back again. You can be pretty upright here. If you need to hold on to a wall to keep the balance, you're welcome to do so. If you're a little more open,
hands walk forward. But as you're doing that, you're drawing the left hip back or right hip forward. So hip bones are neutral. They're facing forward. That's going to be different configuration when we come into that warrior two. And then just kind of noticing this and just noticing how these different configurations get into different parts of the body. Maybe even noticing what feels easier for you. The answer might be they're both equally challenging. That would be the case for me on a Saturday morning. All right, so we're gonna rock forward here. Plant your palms, or you could be on fingertips, curl those right toes under, and then we're gonna heel toe this left foot to the right twice, spin into the back edge of that right foot. So left heel is intersecting right arch. All right, and then we're gonna windmill arms up and over. So hips aren't facing the same direction anymore. Left hip presses back, right hip is releasing down. Torso is squaring to the long side of your mat, however. So there's all these little micro movements. Good. Legs are really strong. It feels like they're gonna squeeze in towards each other. As you inhale, press to the inner edge of that left foot. Feel that hip opening happening. Exhale, sink in. Good, couple more. Inhale. Exhale, sink in. Good, inhale up. And then exhale, sink in, hold here again. Just make sure that you're not hinging forward at that left hip. Bring your gaze out over your left fingertips, couple breaths here. Press to the inner edge of your left foot, firm that knee behind you, and then seal into the back edge of that right foot. Fire up that leg, get it involved in the pose. And then feel your tailbone release down as your sternum stretches up. You can almost think of this as a square. So you're going out from the center and then up and down from the center as well. See if that visualization helps you to find anything new in the pose. Spin your left palm to face up. Good. As you inhale, find your reverse warrior. Few breaths here. So long stretch through this left side. Pinky side of the hand is spinning down. Wrapping these right ribs up towards the ceiling any amount. Shoulder blades are releasing down. So the shoulders like to creep up around the ears. Even here, see if you can release them. Maybe you're gazing up. As you inhale, come up to your Veerabhadrasana 2. As you exhale, unwind. Keep hips low, step to plank, take an inhale. And then as you exhale, shift forward, come to knees, lower halfway, pause there. Exhale the rest of the air out, land on your belly. Inhale, low cobra. And then as you exhale, pull back, find child's pose. So if you want to take your knees a little wider, you're going to get into the hips a little more. If that feels too intense, bring the legs a little closer. You can be resting your head on a blanket or a block here. And let's just keep the arms stretching forward. So kind of an active child's pose. Downward facing dog arms here. Fingers spread, forearms are firming up off the mat. And we're going to find a little twist. So start to walk your arms off to the right. Spinning those left ribs towards that right thigh. You can just rest that left ear to the left upper arm. Head can also be releasing down if that feels better. Kind of really trying to consciously shift the breath, slow it down here. Good. Walk back to center and then off to the left. So right ribs wrapping towards that left thigh. Breath smooth and steady, lengthening out. Good, and then walk to center. And then slowly start to roll on up. We're gonna come to a seat. So Upavista, I recommend sitting up on a blanket or two, especially if you know that you tend to be a little tighter in these seated postures. You're also gonna wanna have a block and a strap if you have them. And if you're on a harder surface at home, I suggest turning to face the long edge of your mat so that you can have your heels pressing into something. If you're on a carpet, it's not gonna be such a big deal. But so sitting up, rooting into your sit bones, and again, legs really active here. So some of us are gonna have our legs a little wider, some are gonna be a little narrower. Again, just kind of find that place where you're beginning to feel a little stretch, but you can still sit tall, so shoulders balancing over your sit bones. Feet are really active here. We're gonna find some more asymmetrical stretching, which is really good for lumbar, sciatic stuff, all of these big muscles that are connecting. So we're gonna take our block to the inside of our right thigh. And if you're a little tighter, most of us are gonna have the block, the upper part of the thigh. Some of us might take it a little lower, and you can play around with that as we come in. So let's just take our left fingertips to that left hip. You can kind of squeeze that elbow in. And then we're gonna bring right forearm to that block. So we're finding a little twist here. That left sit bone's gonna pop up a little bit. That's okay, but just imagine that somebody is pressing their hand down to anchor you a little bit. And again, you kind of you play around here, see where you're at. You might even just be resting your forearm to the inside of that leg or even on the lower leg if that feels okay. Maybe you're looking up towards that left shoulder. You're pressing this left shoulder back. This might be a lot of sensation, this lower left trunk. So stay here like this if it's good for you. Maybe play with bringing fingertips to the back of your head, left fingertips to the back of your head. And then with that elbow reaching up, you can start to lean it back a little bit. See, get into the shoulders a little more. Finally, you might start to take that left arm up and over. And that's gonna just kind of up the ante a little more. So there's always these levels that we can go to. One is not better than the other. They're all getting into the same general direction. Some days we need a little more, some days we need a little less. Check in with your breath again. Really try to fill up on the inhale. Empty out on the exhale, and as you exhale, maybe you wrap these right ribs up a little more. Okay, so from wherever you're at, you're gonna start to spin your torso to face towards this extended leg. Take one hand on either side. So if you're a little tighter, this is a great place to grab your strap, take it around the foot. You might be pretty upright here, feeling a nice little stretch. And again, we're getting a little twist here. It's just moving in the opposite direction now. So we're spinning these left ribs towards that right thigh. If you're a little more open, you can walk your hands in or out rather, any amount. And again, still anchoring into both sit bones as much as possible. This left one's a little lighter, which makes sense since all of the weight is going directionally towards this right leg. But do try to feel fairly even, fairly balanced. All right, inhale, start to walk your hands in, square your torso to the center, and then we take our second side. So set up as you need to. Find the feet again, make sure that the toes are active, they're pointing up. All right, right hand to right hip, kind of squeeze that elbow in. We start to twist to the left, forearm to the block on that left side, leaning your right shoulder head back. Flex the toes. Breath smooth and steady. And then maybe stay here. Maybe bring your fingertips to the back of your neck. Lean that right elbow back. Find a little more opening, a little more stretch. Maybe extend that right arm up and over. So keep refining, keep finding all of these little micro movements in the poses, all these like little counterweights. So you're rooting down into that right sit bone as you twist the left ribs up. Maybe you're gazing up underneath that top arm towards that shoulder. Feel the shoulder blades release down your back, even though we're reaching out. Always trying to create space for the head. Just trying to find space in the neck. Good, nice deep inhale here. And then as you exhale, we're gonna start to spin these right ribs towards that left thigh. And we take a little forward fold over this left leg. So again, maybe you're using your strap. Check in with your feet again. Even if you're completely upright in this pose, you're probably getting a really fantastic stretch. So you're doing the work. So don't worry about that. Get curious about the sensations happening in your body. Just notice what's going on. You're not trying to change anything. You're just observing. You're noticing how this side feels different as compared to the other side. Good. Start to, actually, let's come up right. So walk hands in, square your torso forward, and then we're going to take a little forward fold here. So again, you might not go far at all. In fact, you might even have your fingertips on a block in front of you. More important to root down into the sit bones, keep the spine long. If you're a little more flexible, maybe you're hinging forward a little bit. If you're one of those people that can just lay your belly down on the floor, I want you to activate the legs a little more. So feel the inner thighs squeezing into the midline. That means you might come out of the pose a little bit, but you're going to be getting a better stretch and you won't be dumping into the joints. So sometimes being super hyper flexible isn't always, it's not a bad thing, but you have to temper it with a little more strength. So you actually have to work a little harder. Whereas those who are tight have a little boundary built into their bodies. They can't go any further, which is not a bad thing either. So just kind of get curious about who you are in that equation and adjust as needed. Couple more good breaths. You're really shifting gears here. Good on your next inhale. Come upright. Legs were wide for a really long time, so just take your hands underneath your knees, squeeze them in, and then give yourself a little hug here. Maybe just release the chin towards the knees. Feel that stretch in the back of the neck, so just rounding a little bit here. And then we are going to start to make our way into our final resting pose, Shavasana. So again, any props that you might need, just have them available. So blanket, blocks underneath the knees can be nice. You can take your legs off the wall. You could rest your legs on a couch in front of you. You can also just come into your classic Shavasana. So just seeing what is speaking to you today. And then melting in here. Maybe take one more deep inhale. Open your mouth, sigh the breath out, ha. And then soak up these final quiet moments. Just melting into peaceful, restful Shavasana. Let your next inhale be deeper. Let the breath go as you exhale. Ha. Start to wiggle fingers, toes. Bring some movement back to your body. Stretch the arms up overhead. Nice and easy, staying soft and quiet. Roll to one side or the other. Just find the fetal position there a moment. Then using your hands to help you press up to a comfortable seat. Check in, notice how you're feeling. Notice what shifted for you in this past hour. Just observe the space you've created inside your body, the strength, the ease. Notice the depth and richness of your breath. And then as a result of body and breath working together, perhaps there is a sense of calm and stillness in the mind, little sense of joy, little sense of ease. So soak that up, send yourself love and gratitude for showing up and for making it happen. And just promise yourself that you're going to carry this good feeling with you into the rest of the day, the rest of the weekend ahead. Bring your palms together at your heart. Just bow your head with a smile. Beautiful work today. Thank you. Happy spring. Namaste.